Good morning and welcome. I'd like to call to order the December 12th, 2017 meeting of the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Hugh King with the First Church of the Nazarene to come to the podium for the invocation. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by the County Administrator Jason Brown. But first, I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent reflection for our first responders.
Heavenly Father, we reflect on the words the psalmist wrote, "This is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it." We rejoice for life today. We rejoice for this nation in which we have the privilege to live. And we rejoice in our tropical paradise of Indian River County. And today we thank you and praise you for those willing to serve for this commission and the staff of this county. We also reflect on your word that says if any of us lacks wisdom, we can ask of God. And so I pray today that this meeting will be characterized by a wisdom that comes from you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor King. Commissioners, any additions, deletions to the agenda? I will point out Commissioner Slaughter is absent today. He is fulfilling his duties on the Constitution Review Commission. I don't think there's anything on the agenda that's going to be quite controversial, but it's always been my policy that if there is, and a commissioner cannot be here to debate it, that I would ask the commission to consider tabling until such time that we can all participate. But I don't anticipate that today, but just want to give you all a heads up. So
Move approval.
Second.
we have a motion from Commissioner Flesher, second from Commissioner Adams for the agenda as presented. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Takes us to proclamations and presentations, and it is my honor and privilege to read this proclamation honoring William Wilson on his retirement. And Bill, you want to come on up to the podium and bring some folks with you, and y'all come on up. Don't be shy. And I think there's a large contingent of supporters here too. If you all want to come on down too. Let's stand behind Bill. Let's go. Come on down. Show him your love and support.
Looks like you could adjourn the meeting after they all leave.
Yeah, I think we'll have to have a 5-minute recess.
Wow.
We'll file out.
Do you know these people, William?
Would you promise them a free cookie or a cake or something? Of course.
Pizza afterwards.
Bill, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. If you'd like to say a few words, it'd be great, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. This is a proclamation honoring William H. Wilson on his retirement from the Property Appraiser's Office of Indian River County. Whereas William H. Wilson will retire from the Property Appraiser's Office of Indian River County effective December 29th, 2017. And whereas William Wilson has been employed with the Property Appraiser's Office of Indian River County starting July 9, 1996, where he has continued in the capacity of cadastral mapper until his retirement. And whereas William Wilson has served this county and the public with distinction and selflessness. During his years of service, he was dedicated to his work and was greatly appreciated by property appraiser David C. Nolte and his co-workers alike. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners, Indian River County, Florida, that the Board applauds William H. Wilson's efforts on behalf of the Property Appraiser's Office, and the Board wishes to express their appreciation for the dedicated service he has given to Indian River County for the last 21 years. And be it further proclaimed that the board and staff extend heartfelt wishes for success in your future endeavors. Adopted this 12th day of December 2017, signed, endorsed by all 5 county commissioners. And Bill, I'm sure the question on everybody's mind is, what is a cadastral mapper? And I looked it up. And I may be wrong, but you all will correct me, I'm sure. But cadastral data is the information about rights and interest in land. It can also be known as real estate data, parcel information, or tax parcel information.
Really? Was it all that? I didn't have any idea. No, it's all that, but you have to put all that information on a map so somebody knows where that is.
Yep.
So
Well, tell
to
us,
be
tell
able
us a little bit
to,
about what you're going to do now in the future, that you're not mapping all that cadastral data.
well, I think on January 2nd, probably the first thing I might like to do later on as I get up and get going is go for a walk on the beach.
All right.
I always like to go walking on the beach, but I never have time. People ask if they live far, if I live, far away from here. I bet you get to go to the beach all the time. No, hardly ever. I live a couple of miles from it, but I love to walk there. But so that's probably what I'll do January 2nd. But anyway, I'm hoping to just spend more time. I serve with my church, and I hope to do more with that, and dedicate more time there, and work on my artwork. My artwork, I like to say that the art that I have done, people say, well, it's on the back burner. Well, mine's not even on the stove. It's off so far, I haven't even gotten to it for a long time. But I can do it, and I need to get back to that. And I'd like to learn the gardening trade, but when I say that, like the master gardeners here we have over in Building B on upstairs, to get started in gardening and that kind of thing. So, and learning how to prune trees or whatever, bushes and things. And I wanted to do a little bit of traveling, but not too far. So we'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of things to do, and just to have time to do the things I like to do that I haven't been doing. So. And come back and visit these guys
Bill,
occasionally.
it sounds like you're going to be pretty busy. You might need
Oh
to
yeah, I'm
retire
going to be
from
so
your
busy.
retirement.
I won't have time to do anything. Another thing I love to do is read. I hardly ever have any time to read, and read books. Actually sit down and read a book.
Right.
It's unbelievable. But
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, so there's many things, and of all things, just to be able to sleep a little later. So.
Right. Did anybody else want to say anything while you're? Yeah, come right up. Yeah.
I'd like to.
Just introduce yourself, please.
I'm Robert Garst. So I just prepared a little something here. So good morning. Today we honor Bill Wilson as he moves to the next chapter of his life, his retirement. For 21 years, he has served as a cadastral mapper at the property appraiser's office, as you now know what that means. To Bill, this was more than just a job. It was a way to use his artistic talent for cartography and the greater good of the community. I have known Bill to always take great pride in his work and also his bad jokes.
What about the good jokes?
In fact, his map-related jokes have made him legend. A legend. I'll let you think about that for a minute. Anyway, that's for you, Bill.
We're talking about bad jokes.
So, what I'm getting at, though, is Bill is more than just a great asset to Indian River County. He is the very definition of a true gentleman and servant of God. Thank you, Bill. We really appreciate all of your work. Well done. Good and faithful service. Well done.
Bill, you want to come on up and we'll get a couple pictures, and you want everybody to join you?
And you don't want to pick. All right, Bill wants everybody to come up before the crowd starts.
Want to do it again?
Busy taking pictures. Okay. Bill, I have to say that this is the largest contingency of well wishes for any retirement that has ever existed in Indian River County.
Just 4-row crowd, that's a big one. All right, here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, folks. Thank you all. This was me.
Thank you. Let's go.
How about that, Mr. Wilson?
For those who were left, wow.
All right, so we're gonna come back to order here. Next is a presentation by Barbara Hoffman, the Executive Director of the Cultural Council, on the results of the Arts and Economic Prosperity 5 Impact Study. Good morning and welcome, Barbara.
Good morning, and thank you very much. That was a hard act to follow, and I was absolutely delighted that Mr. Wilson is so interested in getting more involved in the arts in his retirement. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this morning on the Americans for the Arts, Arts and Economic Prosperity study that was done throughout last year. This study is really important to acknowledging and understanding exactly the importance of arts and culture in our community. I have results of studies from Indian River County, from the Treasure Coast. I have data on the state of Florida and also national data. But for today, I'm going to focus just on Indian River County and its statistics. At your desks is a little handout, and it does have all the statistics that I'm going to be talking about and more this morning. Americans for the Arts is the leading nonprofit organization for advancing the arts and arts education in America. Throughout 2016, 10 nonprofit Indian River County organizations input their financial data into this study. Ballet Vero Beach, Cultural Council of Indian River County, Emerson Center, McKee Botanical, Riverside Theater, Theater Go Round, Vero Beach Art Club, Vero Beach Museum of Art, Vero Beach Opera, and Vero Beach Theater Guild. Students from the Vero Beach High School, the Indian River Charter High School, and Indian River State College conducted 768 audience intercept surveys to be put into this report as well. Next slide. AEP 5, Arts and Economic Prosperity 5, is the 5th economic impact study of spending by nonprofit arts and cultural organizations and their audiences. It is the largest and most comprehensive study of its kind ever conducted. Only nonprofit and municipal arts and cultural organizations are included. For no for-profit entertainment businesses such as galleries or individual artists are included. While they are vital to the cultural ecology, they are beyond the scope of this study. Why just nonprofits? Because government and philanthropic dollars are typically directed to these organizations. It is appropriate to ask, beyond quality of life, what is the ROI of that investment? Next slide, please. Nonprofit arts and cultural organizations are active contributors to their business communities. They are employers, producers, and consumers. Spending by these 10 nonprofit arts and cultural organizations totaled $16 million in Indian River County during fiscal year 2015. This spending is far-reaching. Organizations pay employees, they purchase supplies, they contract for services and acquire assets within their community. These actions in turn support jobs, generate household income, and generate revenue to local and state governments. The nonprofit arts and cultural industry, unlike most industries, leverages a significant amount of event-related spending by its audiences, $8.9 million in Indian River County. Costs of admission are not included in this number as it is accounted for under organization spending. For example, arts audiences may purchase dinner at a restaurant, shop in nearby stores, eat dessert after the show, pay a babysitter, and maybe spend a night in a hotel. This spending generates related commerce for local businesses. Next slide, please. Because arts organizations are strongly rooted in their community, most of the jobs they provide cannot be shipped overseas. Even in a global economy, arts remain local employers. Resident household income, often called personal income, includes salaries, wages, and entrepreneurial income paid to residents. Resident household income from these 10 nonprofit arts and cultural organizations in Indian River County during 2015 was $12,661,000. Next slide, please. Revenue to local and state government includes revenue from local and state taxes as well as funds from license fees, utilities fees, filing fees, and other similar sources. Local government revenue includes funds to governmental units such as city and county. Local and state government received $3 million in revenue during 2015 as a result of the economic activity of Indian River County's 10 nonprofit arts organizations and their audiences. This shows that municipal, state, and federal arts support is not a one-way street. Rather, there is a benefit of substantial revenue back to government that accompanies the public good that these organizations and their audiences provide to the community. Next slide. Like all industries, spending by arts organizations has a measurable economic impact. Unlike most industries, the arts generate a bounty of event-related spending for local businesses, dollars that land in the pockets of local business establishments. Attendees spend $25.56 per person per event. A vibrant arts community stimulates business for local merchants. Next slide, please. In Indian River County, researchers estimate that 74.9% of the 346,697 nonprofit arts attendees were residents. 25.1% were non-residents. Next slide, please. Non-resident attendees spent an average of 140% more per person than local attendees as a result of their attendance to cultural events. As would be expected from a traveler, higher spending was typically found in the categories of lodging, meals, and transportation. When a community attracts cultural tourists, it harnesses significant economic rewards. Non-resident survey respondents were asked about the purpose of their trip. 71% indicated that the primary purpose of their visit to Indian River County was specifically to attend this arts or cultural event. This finding demonstrates the power of the arts to attract visitors to the community. The survey also asked if they would have traveled somewhere else if the event where they were surveyed had not occurred. 50% would have traveled to a different community to attend a similar cultural event. The survey asked local resident attendees about what they would have done if the arts event that they were attending was not taking place. 43.2% of resident attendees said they would have traveled to a different community to attend a similar event. The cultural tourism findings demonstrate the economic impact of the nonprofit arts and cultural industry in its truest sense. If a community fails to provide a variety of artistic and cultural experiences, not only will it fail to attract new dollars from cultural tourists, it will lose the discretionary spending of its own residents who will travel elsewhere for a similar experience. Next slide, please. While arts volunteers may not have an economic impact as defined in this study, they clearly have an enormous impact by helping nonprofit arts and cultural organizations function as a viable industry. During 2015, a total of 1,364 volunteers donated a total of 66,418 hours to Indian River County's 10 participating nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. This represents a donation of time with an estimate aggregate value of $1,564,808. Slide, please. The arts improve the economy and the quality of our lives. 82% of Americans believe arts and culture are important to local business and the economy, and 87% of Americans believe arts and culture are important to the quality of life. Next slide, please. The American public appreciates the value that the arts bring to their community. While 63% believe the arts lift me up beyond everyday experiences, 64% feel pure pleasure to experience and participate in the arts, and 73% say that arts are a positive experience in a troubled world. Next slide. This study sends a clear and welcome message. The arts are an investment that delivers both community well-being and economic vitality. It is a vital industry, one that supports jobs, generates government revenue, is the cornerstone of tourism and economic development, and drives a creativity-based economy. Next slide. 13 national organizations partnered with Americans for the Arts on the AEP5 study, including the United States Conference of Mayors, the National Lieutenant Governors Association, the Committee of Encouraging Corporate Philanthropy, National Association of Counties, National League of Cities, Destinations International, National Alliance of Community Economic Development Associations, International City-County Management Association, Independent Sector, Grant Makers in the Arts, and the National Conference of State Legislatures, Council on Foundations, and the conference. That is the end of my presentation. I would be more than happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Barbara. Commissioners, any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Barbara, the only thing, would it be possible to get a copy of the full report and a copy of the survey?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you could just drop it off at the upstairs or mail or
I'll give it to Jason.
Okay. That'd be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for letting me do this presentation. The arts
Thank
and
you,
culture
Barbara. Have
is
a wonderful day.
Thank you.
That moves us on to the approval of the minutes, regular meeting of October 24 and November 7, 2017. Motion by Commissioner Flesher,
Second.
second by Commissioner Zork. Any discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. And I was incorrect earlier. I think I said 5-0, but it's 4-0, Commissioner Slaughter being absent. My apologies, Commissioners. Moving on to informational items. Commissioners, anything?
No?
We just have two retirement
Yes.
notices. John Duran is retiring from the Department of Emergency Services with 31 years of service. And Betty Davis Scroggs is retiring from code enforcement with 36 years of service. So John and Betty, thank you very much from the board for your years of dedicated service to the community. Brings us to the consent agenda. Commissioners, is there anything you'd like to pull for further discussion? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to have a consent agenda item pulled for additional discussion? Seeing none,
Move
Commissioners?
approval. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Flesher, second by Commissioner Adams to approve consent. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 4-0. Commissioner Slaughter absent. Next, it is my pleasure to bring up to the podium our Supervisor of Elections, Ms. Leslie Swan. And her agenda item is request to have the city revenues received from conducting November municipal elections to be rolled into the 2017-2018 general operating budget. Mrs. Swan, good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. That's why I'm here today, to ask if we can have the city revenues from conducting the City of Sebastian and the City of Vero Beach municipal elections rolled back into our budget.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, seconded by Commissioner Zork. Any discussion? Anyone from the audience wish to comment on this? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you very
Zork.
much.
Thank
and
you.
have a
Have a great day.
happy holiday.
You
Hey,
too.
right. Okay. Trying to keep up with both my written and my computer, and
There's just a lot going on.
there's a lot going, I'm just kind of a hot mess this morning, yeah.
Don't spill your coffee.
We now come to public items. There are no public hearings under public discussion items. The first one is a request to speak from Paul Fafetta regarding the Oslo Road boat ramp. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, sir.
If you could please give us your name and address just for the record, please.
Yes. I'm Paul Fafetta, 955 82nd Avenue. I am the chapter president of the Treasure Coast Coastal Conservation Association and a fishing guide. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Flesher and Jason Brown for having the tree removed at Ermine Island. Some of you may recall the tree at the entrance that had been dead for eons, that housed a couple of ospreys from time to time, collapsed over the dock and boardwalk during Hurricane Irma. And the dock is still in dire need of repair, and we hope that that gets handled soon. But I want to thank those responsible. On the issue of Oslo boat ramp, I'm going to make it very short and sweet this morning. With me is Captain Marciano, who spoke last week, and Andy Steinbergs, both members of the CCA. And we would extend an invitation to you all for a boat ride on the lagoon to see for yourself the area of Oslo Road and the surrounding flats and that area. At your convenience, you can contact me and we'll expedite it. Right now, the water clarity is pretty good because of the cold weather. Some of the algae has been killed off, so you can get a good sight at the bottom. But with that, we would extend that invitation. Thank you again. I'm going to conclude by saying Merry Christmas to you all, and I hope to see you after the first of the year.
Merry Christmas. Questions, Commissioner Fletcher?
Captain, I appreciate the invitation. I want you to know they had the opportunity to ride out there the last go-around with Mark and, of course, Dr. Grant Gilmore and several others. And it was an eye-opening experience to see how many fry were there. And it was an off-season by that, too. But I'm particularly interested in a proposal or a discussion that Mark had raised about the fresh white sand being laid into that channel. It's just another part to the puzzle that may give us a better picture and a better solution. I did hear that a lot of the muck had dissipated, and we realize that it may come back since there is a section of collection there, but I'd like to see it. Not being a boat owner, I appreciate the invitation as one county commissioner.
You're more than welcome, sir.
So we'll be taking you up on that as soon as we can figure out a schedule. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
I'd just like to say, I took up that offer some time back, but it was in the summer months where the water wasn't as clear, so maybe a cooler visit would show a little bit more of what we couldn't see last time. But
Very good, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Next, we have a request to speak from Ardra Rigby and Bill Rigby regarding demolitions in West Wabasso community. Ardra and Bill, good morning, welcome. Good morning. If you all would be so kind as to give your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ardra Rigby, 8465 59th Avenue, President of the West Wabasso Progressive Civic League.
Bill Rigby, 8465 59th Avenue, Wabasso Community.
Good morning, Commissioners. Merry Christmas. I just have a few questions or concerns that the citizens in the community have, and it is concerning the demolitions of homes in our community. And we just like to know the policies and the procedures that the community applies when it comes to the demolition and demolishing of homes in our community. And is there a 5-year plan? And in that 5-year plan, what is the demolition aspect of that plan with the community? We have some plans also, and we'd like to include those plans with whatever you're trying to decide with the demolition of those homes. So I guess that's where what's the policy and procedure when it comes to the demolition of homes in our community?
Well, usually, and I'll let Jason fill in, or Rich, but generally, it normally kind of starts with a complaint, either from someone in the community or other folks. Our building department will go out and do a thorough inspection of the building. And if it's in their determination that the building is posing either a safety risk or a health risk, or if it's a place where people are gathering for illicit drug activity, things like that, then the staff will bring it to the board in a public meeting, and the board will hear the presentation. The owners of the buildings up for demolition will be sent a certified letter notifying them that that agenda item is coming forward and the building is up for a vote for demolition. At the conclusion of that meeting, the board then votes whether to move forward with the demolition.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that, but can I have a copy of those policies and procedures that you just explained?
Jason,
We can get you a copy of
Thank you, Jason. No
those.
problem. I'll just ask for a copy. That's all. I understand. That was it for me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, and just, Audrey, let me just add, usually, you know, as far as your interest in 5 years or the use of those properties, just going off the top of my head from the last agenda item, most of those properties had multiple years of unpaid back taxes. I think it was in the range of $3,000 to $6,000. And then I think several of them had significant code enforcement liens in the 5 or 6 figure range. So it's clear the properties have been abandoned for years. There's no response to pay the taxes. There's no response to the code cases. So it just, eventually I believe those liens will sheet back to the county because no one's going to pay those bills. And we do have, in the past, we have taken some lots like that and given them to nonprofits where they would then go in on that lot and build housing and things like that. So that might be something you want to look at as far as your 5-year plan. And Jason or Dylan, how long does it take before those properties would roll back to the county, just approximately?
I think 4 years.
It takes a couple of years for them
Yeah,
to
it
cheat
could
through.
take-
They have to go through a couple of years of the tax deed sales, and it takes about 3 years plus.
3 fingers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole process as a whole, because you have the tax deeds, then you have it sits on the list of lands available. I mean, I remember when the board had asked me to look at this years ago. I know it's 3 years that it's on the list of lands available, but as a whole, it could take 6, 7 years to just go through the entire
So
process.
it's not immediate, Ardra, but if you do have a 5 or 10-year plan, those are things you can start maybe, plugging in as they become available.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, because we are trying to put a plan together to present to you.
Okay.
I've written you about it, so we're trying to incorporate those things into what we're trying to do.
Okay.
And present as a proposal to you. So I just want you to be aware of that.
That'd be great.
And there are some requirements on the county for those lands available every 3 years. We have to make those available, and those are typically for affordable housing, is what those are donated to nonprofits or sold off for affordable housing purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Bremer.
I'm going to be coming from a different approach than the president of the Wabasca Progressive Civic League, and mine's going to be a little bit different, but in the same, I'm going to say, proximity. And what the Wabasca community would like to know is that I know that there has been a lot of demolition in our community. And we would like to know what percentage of demolition have been done in the Wabasa community compared as the county as a whole. And I know that the county includes a little bit of, I think, a little bit of Fellsmere, a little bit of Oslo, and other surrounding areas. We just would like to know what is that percentage. And you might not have that information, but we would like to have that information. What's the percentage of demolition compared to Wabasa as a whole to the county?
We can certainly try to put some numbers together for you. I'm sure we don't have that right now.
Yes, sir.
But I don't think that'd be too difficult just to, and I don't know about a percentage. We could give you the number of demolitions over the last couple of years compared to other areas, something like that?
Yes, if you give me, if just give me the numbers, that would be fine. The other issue that I have is that there was a home that was demolished in our community, 6345 85th Street. I think we came before this commission on that home that was demolished. And I remember very vividly in those conversations, certain commissioners said that when we was trying to get that certain building as a museum, they said that maybe we ought to find some other places to go. And I think one other said that they had given us enough time to do what we need to do with that building. And then what was disturbing to me is that here I'm in the meeting talking. I go across the hall to the taxpayer's office, and the tax has already been paid before I even get out the building. And that was appalling to me. And then I heard one commissioner said that if we go ahead and do what we need to do, and if the tax sale is sold, that all bets are off. And that was very appalling to me. That my question, let me say this, my question, did any commissioner know that the taxes was already paid on the property before we spoke?
Well, Bill, I vividly remember this, and I remember I was the one who brought up the fact that property was up for a tax deed sale on that very day. So I went online, I looked under the clerk of courts and saw that this sale was scheduled. I don't know what time the sale was scheduled. I didn't know when it sold. All I pointed out was it was up for sale, and that's something the clerk does. And again, that doesn't happen overnight. That's a long process. Somebody that owned the tax certificate had to apply, and then it goes through I think they have to publish the tax deed sales in the paper at least three times, once a week. So it wasn't like they heard we were talking about this and they said, hey, we're going to sell it this morning. I mean, it was a long process putting that property up for tax deed sale. I clearly remember I found it and pointed it out to y'all. It was up for tax deed sale. I have no way of knowing when it sold or what time of day it sold. So, but it would not have been a short-term thing. It would have been a long process to get to the point of a sale.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. And the other thing I have is this, and I'm not here today to throw no stones. I'm not here today to literally throw no one under the bus or anything like that. I'm just here today to get a little bit of clarity, because a lot of people in the community are concerned about the process of the demolition, and what they're concerned about is that you look at Grail Brothers, you look at 4366 85th Street, that's due west of Wabasa, and you see almost in our neighborhood the wording is nuisance, health hazard, and things like that. But if you go back down on 4366 off of 85th Street, the house is literally torn, almost the roof on the top is a two-story home, and it's almost falling in. But yet, when we come in to our neighborhood, it's just like tax lien, and it's gone, and the home is gone. And the only thing that we're saying as a community is that we just want an opportunity to get with the homeowners in our neighborhood and see what we can do to make it affordable homes. And here's what we're trying to do in our neighborhood. We have architects, we have grant writers now that's coming in our neighborhood. And what we would like to do is that We know that a lot of people in our home and our community has $6,000. The income is an average $6,000, but yet it's still the county paid $6,183 to demolish that home in our community. And what we're saying is that why can't we, the county, the citizen in Wabassa, we can't come up with a comprehensive plan? And I know a lot of people don't like the word affordable housing, but what we're calling affordable housing is not something that you just throw up. You know, like I was in the neighborhoods that they took homes like on the beach and took that same model of homes and brought in their neighborhoods and made it nice, made it where people would be proud to live in. That's what we're looking for. If the homes need to be torn down or whatever, we'll say tear it down, but we want to have a say-so in what you're going to do in our community as far as the demolition of the home. Why I say that? My mom and them house was built in 1952. And I hear it says that, well, you never could get it up to par. But that's not true. I just did a home down in Fort Pierce, a wood home. And the house there was built in 1957. And we went in there and did the whole wiring of the house. It wasn't a $10,000 project. It cost a little money. But it was less than $5,000 to get that house up to code. What I'm saying is that you don't think we can come together, the county and the community, and do something for the community? Get affordable housing in there, make the community better? Now, you got to look at Mr. Paladin. He came and then up the bar for us. He built those $200,000 homes over the $100,000 home across the street from us, and I applaud him for that. Because what it did then is made us realize that, hey, we got to do better. The community. And I applaud Mr. Commissioner Fletcher. He said these words. He said the community got to step it up. And that's what we want to do. We want to step it up. We don't want our community to look like nothing. The community has been 40, 50 years in stalemate. So all we want to do is that make it better for the people. Remember, the average income in the home is $6,000. Since it's $6,000, and we join on a little bit with Johns Island, saying the average income is $30,000, we just want to make it better. We're asking for your help.
Yeah. And Bill, I don't have any problem working with y'all if you, Audrey, you want to bring back a long-term plan for these lots, but keep in mind, we don't own them right now when we demolish them. They're owned by somebody else. There are significant liens on them, and we can't do anything with them as far as rebuilding or any moving forward until they come off the tax roll and come back to the county. And as Jason said, we do have a program where we do make those back available to nonprofits. So I'd be more than glad if you guys want to put together a plan and come back. Again, it does take several years for those properties till they come back to us. But certainly, once they're available, we'll be glad to work with you. But until then, we don't own them and we can't do anything with them.
So let me ask this question. Here's the county goes in and demolition the home. Okay, the county has a certain amount of money that invested in the demolition of that home. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, it comes out of general fund?
That's correct. It costs us to demolish the homes.
Okay, now, what we're saying is that before that demolition take place, what we're saying is that we would like to get with whomever before they start the demolition process and say, okay, automatic, it's a nuisance, it's a health hazard, or however you want to make it. We're saying is that before that takes place, we would like to get with that property owner to find out what can we do to help them, because a lot of them don't understand. A lot of them don't understand the process. But as a community organization, we can get with those property owners and find out what can we do before that process, even if it's liens or however it may be.
And Bill, we did that with this previous property. And we were willing to give you guys time to speak to the lady that owned it. You said you'd already had discussions with her. You just didn't have anything in writing. And I remember the board was very receptive. If you guys got the written permission, then we could work with you. Unfortunately, as you said, it sold that day. So, you know, we were willing to work with you. It just got sold. I mean, we didn't say no to your request.
And again, Commissioner, I appreciate it. I'm just saying in the future, because that time frame, I'm just saying this, in that time frame, it was just that we didn't have, because of all the, I'm going to use the word negativity that was on that home, it would have took more than that to really get to that home, because there's a lot of stuff involving with the property of that home, with liens, not only you guys liens, federal tax liens and state liens and everything else on the property.
Right.
So that's all we're saying, is it took more than that, because we've been on the phone a lot with that. And I appreciate that, Commissioner, that in the future.
So, Bill, what I would do now is if there's a parcel that you think you all might be interested in right now, today or in the next, go ahead and go online, go to the tax collector's, property appraiser's website, see what's going on, and then target it now before it gets into that sale process. Start contacting the owner now.
And Commissioner, thank you for that information. We would, from this point forward, we would try to get with the property owners, and we would be right now looking very vividly at what's down there on the tax liens or whatever. We'll start doing that now, because I think if we do that now, I think it would eliminate a lot of the problems that we have now. And lastly, Commissioner, I'd just like to ask one question. What is the Wabasca community considered as? Is it urban or is it rural? Is it an urban area or is it a rural area? Or is it, what is it labeled? Because we're having a problem right now with that. And
it's not really labeled rural or urban, it's just a portion of unincorporated Indian River County.
So it's just considered as an incorporated area of Indian River County? Unincorporated area of Indian River County.
Not agriculture, not rural, not urban.
I mean, we don't necessarily label the areas. I mean, each individual parcel may have a separate zoning and a comp plan designation, but we don't have a designation of an area being urban or rural.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fletcher.
To Mr. Rigby. You know, there are some homes that come before that, quite frankly, the citizens don't gain by demolition as per se. I mean, they're taken off the tax roll. You know, the cost of demolition is put on a lien. You know, it puts people in jeopardy. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. But it also changes the composition of the community. And that's what we talked about putting things together using the ship option to bolster up the appearance and maintain the properties. I just wanted you to know that last week when you were in attendance, when we had 4 demolitions that were approved, there was a 5th. And the young man who had called, he said, you know, I had no idea that we owned the property, that a family member owned the property. I'd rather not have a lien on it. Can I do the demolition myself? And he worked with staff, and I know he hasn't commenced as of yet, but it was taken off of our list because he wanted to do the demolition himself, and he realized that the house was in grave disrepair and would not qualify for any reconstruction, or really was not, lack of a better word, I mean, you know, it wasn't deserving of going forward. The integrity of the building was compromised so much that he realized that it had to be torn down, and he's going to take that upon himself to do that. He had actually believed that the county had owned the property, so I didn't bring it up at the time, but there's a case where somebody became aware that they owned property. There's a lot of options, and it's not just about a coat of paint. It's about a commitment and involvement with the ship loan process, and I think that if enough folks stepped up to the plate to get involved, that we would have less and less of the demolition concern. You brought up how much percentage in the community were demolished as opposed to other communities, and quite frankly, I don't know if that is going to reveal anything as far as the type, when you ask about type of demolition or the accountability of demolition. Look, when a house is in total disrepair, is in total disrepair. And a lot of people actually welcome the demolition process because they don't have to pay for it themselves at this point. At a point of sale, that lien will be considered in the transaction of the land. So some folks actually wait until that moment happens. And we did not get much response on the approach on the demolition process. Sometimes we do, and we have, this board has continually extended the opportunity when folks have said, well, I'd like a couple of months. They've worked with our law office and have determined that maybe they can work something out, so we hold off. And but in all candor, very few are able to resurrect. I believe when the engineers look at the property, they know that it's going to be far more costly than the existence of the property itself to maintain and resurrect. But I'm open for any suggestion that's going to maintain the cultural aspect and the sense of community by redeveloping existing properties. So that's why, and we've had that discussion. I fully support anything that can come forward to maintain a home.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Commissioner. I hope that we can find some common ground in that. But the only thing that I was really concerned about is that I look at Greer Brothers. Again, I look at 4366 85th Street. And Greer Brothers been like that for almost 4 or 5 years or more. And nothing happened. And that's really an outsource. And I don't know if it's because of the politics involved in it. I don't know. But I look at that, and then I look at what's been done in my area, and then I say, well, wait a minute here. Am I under the same procedures as, or is my community under the same procedure as Greer Brothers, or my community under the same procedures as 4366 85th Street? And then people come and ask us, why are they doing that? Did they see that? Did they see that? And then my thing is to find some common ground and give them an answer, because I don't have an answer. But today you have clarified it a little bit, but I still don't understand why those boilers are still at Greer Brothers. 4366 85th Street is the same, and in my neighborhood, you just tear it down. And that's my only really gripe about the whole situation, because I believe that if we all have commonality, and then we won't have this. If the same procedure is for whomever, the same procedure is for whomever, and all of us in that same bubble, then it's uniformly. Then staff can say, well, I went to Greer Brothers, I went down there, and I went to Wabash, I went to whatever community that there is, and that's the same procedures and same policies. And that is our only gripe about that when it comes to our community, is just tear down. But when other communities, I'm not saying others, I'm just going to speak for my community, is that, hey, it's just tear down. But we are going to try to work closely with staff. We're also going to try to work close with you, Commissioner, on trying to find out a common ground as far as what can we bring in our community as affordable, that's right, as affordable housing. We're working very diligently on that as I speak to you. On December the 23rd, I want this commission to know we have some architects, we have some grant writers that's going to be coming in. And what we're trying to do is improve that community. We're realizing now that we can't depend on the county for what we need to do. We're realizing that right now. Only the county. Let me specify that. Only the county. And we realize that we got to, like you said, we got to step up to the plate too. And we got to start bringing in initiatives in our community to enhance our community, to make it better. And we can't just depend on the county. We know you have limited resources. And it's up to us to go out there and try to find resources also for our community. And that's what we are trying to do here. But I really believe that if we're all sitting down at the table, staff, not the commissioners, but staff and the Wabasca community, if we're all sitting at the table, I believe that we can come up with a very, very comprehensive program for that community. And I think that everybody will enjoy the uplifting, because that's the gateway to that beach over there. 510 is the gateway. And we want that front quarter that you see there, we want it better. We don't want it like that. Believe me, we do not want it like that. The leads, pool halls, and everything, we want to uplift that. We don't want it like that. I don't want Mr. Adams calling and saying, I want that tore down or whomever. What we're trying to do is uplift it. And I believe is that you asking us to give you 3 years on another project, we're asking the same thing here. Give us some time. It takes time to get all these things because we're just coming off the ground. And what we're saying, I believe that if you give us some time, I believe that the staff will be rewarded, the commissioners will be rewarded, and the Wabasa community will be rewarded in this endeavor. And that's all we're asking for is time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Archer, thank you, Bill.
I have one question. I have, there's 2 board members that are in here on the Wabasa board. There's 5 others that I have to address. And I guess when they're watching the television, they want to make sure, is there a problem with this board and staff communicating with me? Because they want to make sure that I have a good relationship. See, I have to answer to folks too. And I got to make sure that I have a good relationship with you and with the staff. And I was told to make sure that I asked this question, is there a problem? Communicate with me, be it verbally or written. Because if it is, I want to straighten it out today.
I'm not aware of any problem. I know that you're on the Wabasso interested parties email list. I haven't heard any problems with communication.
Mr. Brown?
Staff is always working to try and communicate with folks in the community. We have a list of folks in the West Wabasso corridor that we communicate with.
With me, Mr. Brown, not the community. I'm the representative of the community.
I think we communicate frequently with you.
Okay, that's all I want to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. The third public discussion item is the request to speak from Pastor Irvin Cartwright regarding demolitions in West Wabasso community. Good morning. Welcome. If you could please give us name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Irvin Cartwright. I have property right on the corner of 63rd and 85th in Wabasso, property in Gifford. And my family have property all over the area in Wabasso. And I'm here this morning. First of all, I want to address the property on 62 90th 84th Street in Wabasso, which y'all are scheduled for. I had the decision last week to consider demolition. I was unfortunate I couldn't make the meeting to talk about it. But I want to say one thing. When my father purchased that property, he purchased that property for income. My mom paid her taxes every year. Every time there's a code violation on the property, my brother go down and talk to Miss Betty Davis, and they solve the problem. And what really pisses me off about the whole idea...
Mr. Cartwright, if you could watch your language, please.
What really makes me angry about the whole idea is, like Mr. Rickey said before, west of 66, there's a house in bad problem. Gray's brother property is in bad condition. The old Deerfield property, which I heard owned by Gray's brother, now the grass growing up in the concrete sitting there, is in bad condition. There are people living in homes in Wabasso, Gifford, Fellsmere, Sebastian, look worse than that piece of property look. And why, every time I turn around, someone had put a condemned sign on. I don't know if it's to the point where the people in Wabasso or my family in Wabasso has started to voice their opinion about what goes on in Wabasso to somebody just got an egg they want to eat back at us on. That property is not going to be demolition. I have seen homes in way worse condition could be prepared. When y'all sitting there saying that a piece of property will cost more, by the time you pay an impact fee, run the dirt and all that up on the house, sir, you will pay $20,000 before you could put a house and not start to lay the first piece of form on a house. The house can be prepared way less than that. I have worked on a house, all that house needs some stucco on it, put some water, do some stucco on there. go back inside, the roof sign on the house, the outside. Y'all asked us to redo the roof on the house. We did that. You said board it up. We did that. And then you come back the next year saying it's considered a hazard. No one goes in that house. No one got no business going in that house. If you want to consider a hazard in my neighborhood, I was to go look at the drainage, look at the filth in the wood. You had junkies using needles and stuff, throw them in the trash. Throw them in the bushes. When it rains, the septic tanks floods. Young kids walk down the water, think they in a swimming pool, splashing in it. No one considered that as being a hazard. No one considered that as being dangerous. But this is what my family get every time. At least every 6 months or so, we getting something to come in here and say that this is a hazard, this is a nuisance. That is not a nuisance, sir. There's a piece of property right there in Sebastian, right off US 1, not too far from Walmart. It's yellow, it's brick, trees growing up through it. I've never seen a demolition sign on that piece of property. But why is it Wabasso? Because someone coming there built some $200,000 homes in there? There's no one in Wabasso, Gifford, or Fairmont that I know personally can afford a home over $130,000. But y'all see y'all building affordable homes around here. You build a Habitat home. A lot of my community, a lot of my cousins, my family members got felonies and stuff. Need homes badly. They can't go in a Habitat house. They got a record. Whose fault is that? It's their own fault. But what they gonna live in? You got guys right there in Wabash, right for 55th, 85th right now in Wabash living in the bushes. I run for them to live in that house. I run for them to live in my mom's house than live in them bushes. Snakes, mosquitoes, anything can hurt the kids. They mentally, the county, y'all ain't caring about those people, sir.
Well, Mr. Cartwright, I would debate that. I don't think anyone's trying to pick on you or your family in particular. As I mentioned earlier in my comments to the Bill and Audra Rigby, generally these are generated either through a complaint from the community. Building department goes out and inspects the homes. They do look for things like structural deficiencies, health and safety issues, and coordinate with law enforcement if there's illegal activity before a decision is made to bring it forward for a demolition. Sorry that you weren't able to make it back on the 5th when we.
It's not gonna be demolition. I'm telling you, we will go to federal court. It's not gonna be demolition. If do, I sue the commissioners. I'm telling you right now, we will file a lawsuit. If you put a bulldozer on it, sir, I will file a lawsuit.
Well, that may be, Dylan, I know we voted to move it forward. We don't have the bids yet for the demolition. Is that correct, Jason? Do you know? Or
I don't think we have them yet.
okay.
It's not gonna be demolition. I will stand in front of it. You would not demolition that piece of property. Because I have redone houses worse than that myself. Put them up to code and running great.
Okay. Well,
every home in Indian River County that got wood on it is living with termites in it.
Mr. Carter, what I would suggest then is get with our Scott McAdam, our building official, ask him what needs to be done to bring the home up to code, and then if he says, okay, this is what needs to be done, do A, B, and C, and then if you're willing to do that and have the means or the efforts to get it done, I think the board could reconsider, but it would have to be something that would be done in a relatively short period of time.
But you just said a while ago we get up to 3 years to work on this.
No. It takes 3 years after the demolition to work through the tax certificate sales before the property might escheat back to the county to when we could then give it away to a nonprofit.
And another thing here, you say there's no one picking on the Cartwrights.
That's correct.
I had someone to go down to one of your offices, I ain't gonna call in the office, to do some paperwork. And one of y'all on the county payroll, point blank asked him, do you know the Cartwrights, the folks who own all that land? They think they own Wabasso. But what right would that hear them to ask that question and say we think we own Wabasso? If my mom and dad purchased the property, we own it. I hear someone say it point blank, Commissioner Fisher said that if we reclaim the property that they're using for a road, we got to pay y'all. We did not tell y'all to grade that road. And we're going to reclaim our property, what we own. We had it surveyed. The people who own it say, hey, they hired false surveyors and all that. Put up the, hey, like I say, call the police and all that out there. And the gentleman on the board here said that point blank, if they want to claim that property, they got to pay us. We didn't tell y'all to grade that road. We was nice enough to leave it. If someone go next to your property, if I bought this podium here for $100, and I said, okay, give it to me. When I get to walk in, you say half of that mine's. That's my fault for not doing my research. When they bought that property adjacent to my parents, they should have done their research, what they was paying for. So y'all want to tell me y'all ain't got no vendetta against the Cartwrights? You forget that, sir. It's coming back in groves to us.
Mr. Cartwright, I think there is no vendetta against the Cartwright family. The county and the Board of County Commissioners does not take it upon themselves to go out and make people's lives difficult for some random vendetta. I believe that you are being a little bit aggressive in this, and if you want to have a conversation about it, I'm happy to do that, as are the rest of the commissioners. But flinging accusations that are unfounded is not the way to get us to progress forward in a productive manner. This conversation and the way you're going about it is not going to bring the results that you would like. If you would like to have a conversation that would bring those results, then we're happy to do that. But let's have a realistic conversation. And I am sorry if you went down to a county office and somebody said something inappropriate.
The word come back to me, what they said.
Well, and the one thing I would say about that is, it's like a game of telephone. They're going to tell you it's gone through a couple people before it got back to you. So the way, whatever was said, you weren't there, I wasn't there. I cannot verify that. But irregardless of that, this whole situation you're talking about multiple different issues, multiple different things. I'm a little confused specifically with what it is you would like for us to do. I understand about the demolition, but now we've moved on to some other issues, and if we could kind of bring it back together here. So
okay, let's go back to the demolition.
Okay.
I'm not a snitch, and I'm not about to tell nobody in Walbassa to get their home tore down. I don't know if y'all was born and raised in Walbassa like I was. I love Walbassa. Walbassa is my pet peeve. When I walk in Walbassa and see an old house, I wish someone living in it. There are houses in Walbassa that trees are growing through. So to me, y'all just want to go get one at a time and say, oh, we got that person's house, so let's go get like maggots just going through the neighborhood, eating up everything there is.
Okay, and
there's worse houses. I'm saying, it's in the demolition. Mm-hmm. There are worse houses than that. And we did everything that the county said. And I'm saying, ma'am, one time I was sitting right there on the corner, watching the guy take his picture. The guy got out with his laptop, sat back, filmed it, went in his truck, and I drove up. He said, the window busted out. I said, mister, that window cracked. So there ain't you see no structural engineer out there and go through it and assess the house. Okay. They didn't do that. They just stood back and took a picture.
Mr. Cartwright.
If I could address that. As Commissioner O'Brien has mentioned, it takes many years to get to the point of demolition. There typically is a code enforcement violation that's either a call that's come into us for us to go out and look at that property. The code enforcement process itself takes months to years to work its way through. The property owner is given multiple chances to address the deficiencies in the property or building. At that point, and then there's a whole hearing at a code enforcement board meeting related to that, with more documentation that goes back to the homeowner or the property owner. At that point, if it continues to be unaddressed or not worked out, then it moves into a demolition process. This is not a 1 month process. This is multiple years of processes before it even gets to a demolition a point of being considered for demolition. And then once it gets to the point of being considered for demolition, there's multiple meetings and notifications that go out to the property owner. There's multiple discussions that we have on a staff level and a board level. So I just want to clarify that for both of you guys, that this is not a process where we just higgledy-piggledy put a dot on a map and say we're gonna tear this house down and it happens tomorrow. That is not the case. And I can understand maybe the perception that things are happening more in your area than they are in other areas. But I can tell you that that is not the case, that there are code enforcement issues and violations throughout the county. There are things that have been addressed, people have been given time, but there comes a point where we cannot give more time because the health and safety of the neighborhood is impacted, and that is our job to deal with.
Commissioner.
Ma'am, don't use the word safety, because y'all don't care about Wabassville being safe.
And that is untrue, and I find it very offensive that you continue to say that.
Well,
Period.
ma'am, that's just my personal opinion.
Well, I can understand that, but we have all said that's not true.
Mr. Cartwright, listen.
But another thing I want to say before you hit Ms. O'Brien, I would like to have the record outside, which y'all go put on a building and too embarrassed to put your name on it. Just put a swivel on the way it says sign. Just put it, I mean, you're too embarrassed to put your name on it and say, I did. But I want a copy of the records that y'all sent to my mom's house. You hadn't sent not one there. That property is in violation of the code. Because every time that my brother had an issue, he goes down to Miss Betty Davis' office and they address the problem. So I'd like to have a copy of that, please. Those copies that y'all say y'all sent in the past 3 years or the past 6 months, where it was a problem with that property being sitting there like that.
Okay, and that we can get you, Mr. Cartwright.
Mr. Cartwright, the chairman earlier offered that we could potentially delay the demolition of the house that you're talking about.
That's what I was going to address, yeah.
Pardon me?
I would not let you demolition that house.
We're trying to offer the opportunity to have staff work with you to see what needs to be done to avoid that. I ask that you contact them, that you contact staff soon, so that we don't award a demolition of that structure prior to then. But you seem to be wanting to argue with us when we've given a potential solution to the problem. So I ask that you work with staff to try and resolve this demolition. If staff can work with you and tell you what needs to be done to avoid the demolition, that might be a solution to our problem. And we will get you the information, but you don't need to resort to yelling at our commissioners.
Well, I'm sorry for that.
Needs to not be. We've offered to try and work with you, but you seem intent on rather insulting the commissioners. Instead, let us try and work with you on this.
I hear you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Cartwright.
Mr. O'Brien,
We're not going to go back and forth on this.
Well, I'm not going back and forth. I just wanted to tell you that I will work with Mr. Cartwright so that this does not happen. We will go with him to Scott McAdams. I'm not here. We're trying to work with you, Commissioner. That's what I'm here to say. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to let you know it's personal with him. So you have to have a go-between. I want to be that go-between so that I could take him to Scott McAdams so that we don't have this outburst and we don't have that outburst with you anymore. That's what I was trying to say, Mr.
Just make sure
Commissioner O'Brien.
Mr. Wainwright is willing to accept your offer.
Right.
Thank you. That concludes the public discussion items. We now go, there's no county administrator matters. Under departmental matters, community development, consideration of the Gifford Neighborhood Plan Annual Report Card for 2017. We have Mr. Stan Boyne. Good morning, Stan. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the fourth Gifford Neighborhood Plan implementation report card that we have brought before you all. We do that the first part of December each year. It's an annual report card. And really just a quick bit of background. In 2013, the board directed staff to update the 2002 Gifford Neighborhood Plan, and that was done through about a 1.5-year process in 2013 and 2014 that got a lot of input, community support in the Gifford area, and working with the leadership there in the Progressive Civic League. And that ended in the adoption of the plan in the summer of 2014. Here's the cover of the plan itself. you know that you all are aware of that. All the information for the Gifford Neighborhood Plan is on the county website, by the way. And that plan contains objectives and 82 specific actions and implementation dates, dealing with a lot of different subjects, including communication with the community, housing, economic development, streets, sidewalks, parks, and a beautification plan for 45th Street. Also, as you all know, last week you looked at our capital improvements element, and we highlight the Gifford Neighborhood Plan items to make sure that capital improvements called for in the neighborhood plan are put through the capital improvement program overall with the county. And looking at the report card for this year, actions that were due to be done between 2014 and 2017, 84% of those have been completed and 4 are in progress, and we're asking for an additional year to get those completed, and I'll go over that information in just a moment. We also have a number of ongoing actions all completed because they're continuing to be implemented and are in progress continually. The actions that are in progress, the 4 that had a 2017 or 16 due date, we're asking for those dates to be extended. One is the action of getting a sidewalk along 45th Street from 43rd Avenue to US 1. The eastern segment of that will require crossing the FEC Railroad. And Public Works has been working on that and working with FEC. It was taking a long time to get a response from FEC, and so we need additional time to continue to work through that. So the effort has been made by Public Works, but they're kind of had to be in waiting mode for quite a while to get a response from them. Action 13.6 deals with activities that the solid waste staff has been working on, and you all have seen progress on potential redevelopment of the 41st Street old landfill site. But that process has been extended a bit, so we're asking for that completion date to be pushed to 2018 as well. Another action, 11.7, deals with coordinating with culverting the south side of 45th Street, and Public Works has been active in that, as well as MPO staff coordinating. Actually, we had to coordinate with DOT on some funding issues, but also the Indian River Farms Water Control District. Public Works has actually had, through the board authorization, hired an engineering firm that's doing the design work for the culverting right now, and we need that action to be pushed to 2018 for completion. And then one other action, 11.8, deals with Public Works coordinating with Indian River Farms Water Control District on some items dealing with safety along the farms, canals, adjacent to county roadways. That coordination activity has began a while back, and they need a little more time to bring some of that to conclusion. But again, I want to just mention, I've mentioned this a few times before, Public Works has a lot of obligations in this plan. They've done a really good job in implementing it and working with staff and with the community, solid waste as well. But we just need more time on a couple of these items. Also, with respect to the Progressive Civic League, last month we sent the draft report card to them. We appreciate their input and also their encouragement, and really thanks to the county for implementing the plan and continuing to do that. We also, in this report, wanted to just recognize some of the recent history that was made with the renaming of Gifford Park to Victor Hart Senior Community Enhancement Complex. And Mr. Hart, and actually the Hart family, has like many things, positive things in Gifford over the years and in the county, was part of the neighborhood plan and supports the plan and implements it, and we wanted to make mention of it in this particular report card. Staff's recommendation is that the board review and accept the 2017 implementation report card, and I'd be glad to try to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Stan, thank you very much for that thorough report and update. Commissioners, Commissioner Fleischer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stan, we appreciate the assessment of the report card. Self-appraisal and evaluation is always important to know where we're going and what we're doing. But I do see the president of the Progressive League there, and I'd like to hear from his own words what his evaluation of the,
We could have a moment of silence while a Blue Angel takes off. But Commissioner Flynn, I'd like to just see if commissioners have any questions of staff, then we can hear from.
I did want to say that I believe that, and this for Stan, that I believe earlier there was a discussion brought up by someone else here that indicated was there a communication challenge, and there was a discussion. I want to say that the communication with the Gifford community, with the revisiting of the Gifford Neighborhood Plan, has been exceptional. And I wanted to thank all of the citizens, because I think this was a very successful year, and it's nice to see 84%, 90%. It's nice to see high grades, and yes, there was some challenges, and I also wanted to thank some charitable individuals for making some of the 100% so successful and so swiftly done. Donations for things for the park. There was a lot of community effort with the park as well. And it wasn't just one entity. It wasn't just us saying, let's just get her done. There was a lot of involvement and a lot of relationships that were called to task to make it happen. So I don't think any one person deserves the credit. I think that, well, we would say thank you, community, all of us, for getting together to make a lot of great things happen this past couple of years since we revisited the Gifford Neighborhood Plan. And with that, we'll yield back to the Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Fleischer. Commissioner Zork, questions of staff?
Yes, I see on item number 3 that we do deal with demolition of structures that are reported to the county, and I'd say Commissioner Adams did a great job kind of walking through that process, but just for clarity, we as the county don't go out and turn in structures. The community does, or law enforcement makes a complaint of an unsafe structure or where illicit activity is going on, and then they go through that very, very lengthy process.
That's correct, and that was accurately discussed and brought up in the last item. And also we get input from the health department as well. The health department, sheriff's office, law enforcement, as well as complaints from the neighborhood. And that again begins the process. Is there an owner to contact to bring things up to code, to address code issues? And if there's no response, you have to balance off between how long can, especially an unsecured structure, it's not just aesthetics, right. It's safety, and it's unsecured structures in particular, and that's, you're correct, it takes a while, but the plan does recognize the need for it, and we've had support from the community in the Gifford area and from law enforcement and the health department, and we proceed on a structure by structure basis.
Right. And we have made some incremental improvements on the culverting issue when I get the dollars mixed up. Is it Family Dollar that's on?
We could just call it the dollar store.
The dollars. It's a convenience place. I stop in there fairly frequently. If I'm ahead of schedule picking up the kids from school, I got a minute to go in there and grab a couple things. But it's it's a great asset to the community to see some capital investment come in and wherever that opportunity comes up to be helpful to an applicant, to help them and encourage them through the process, just uplifts the whole community in general. On the 45th Street improvements, when you drive it today, you have to kind of do a flashback. What did it look like before? Because the memory kind of fades relatively quickly, but it looks so much nicer now. There's so many good things that are going on up there, and staff, you guys have put in a lot of work, but it's combined with the input of the community, and you've got some great active folks up there that would like to see some things. I know we've got them in the plan, and we're just chipping away at it and keep moving forward. But compliments to the people in the community that have been active, keeping us informed on what the needs are. But great job, thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Zork. Commissioner Adams, any questions of staff? Great, thank you. This time we'd like to hear from the public. I see Joe, did you want to come on up, and if you'd please give us the name and address for the record. And who's that stranger standing behind you there?
Yeah. My name is Joe Adelet. I live at 4570 57th Avenue
and I'm the president of the Progressive Civic League. And we're going to do this all at once.
Tag team.
All right? I guess y'all want to tell them your name and address?
Yeah, if you'd please, just for the clerk has it all.
Freddie Woolfolk, 4590 57th Avenue.
Linda Morgan, 3990 45th Place.
All right. As we was looking at the presentation from Mr. Bowling, each year in the fall, I do my studying of the plan and the matrix to see what's coming, what's coming up in the coming year. And in November, I always present that to my membership, and we talk about it. And according to what it is, we get excited about it and we get our hope up. In 17, most of the jobs were ongoing projects, which we all take care of, whomever. But we had that one project, 7.3, that we got excited about because it was talking about sidewalk up to US 1. And we mentioned that to Stan Knowles prior to getting ready for this meeting. And Rich decided, they talked about it because something was supposed to happen. They were supposed to go to US 1 in 17. Did not happen. Rich, he explained it to us through email why it did not happen. And he changed the verbiage on 7.3. My concern was, obviously, when verbiage is changed, if it's not changed to my advantage, obviously I don't like it. So, but it's nothing I got upset about. But I just want him and everyone to know that we were very disappointed on that. But it was all explained right there, so we know what's coming up, supposed to be coming up in 18. But we worked good with staff as well as county commissioners, and we are hoping to continue. There are some good projects coming up that we got our hopes up again on, and we're hoping to see those projects to come to fruition. I make this statement for me as well as other people. We have concerns, and we've had concerns for long periods of time. And some people make the statement to me, as well as myself, that I would like to see some things happen prior to my demise. People laugh at that, but I'm serious about that because we've been having these hopes for a long time. And they're on the board, and we're looking forward to it. But other than that, we're pleased with how everything is going with the commissioners as well as staff.
And Joe, just let me comment, when we get to the sidewalk there on where the railroad crossing is and stuff, that whole thing with all aboard Florida and FEC is really it's a quagmire to say the least. And the crossing improvements is a big legal issue that we're kind of trying to work with them. So, just patience is going to be required there.
Of course.
There's a lot of moving parts to that one.
Of course.
But we are working on it, but it's just that thing's going to be glacier-like. I'm afraid to say, but just kind of be patient with us on that one.
Of course. Of course.
All right, great. Thank you.
You got anything else?
I just want to say, I mean, I'm the short person at the end of the whatever.
Tell Joe get out of the way so you can speak right in front of the microphone there. Just give him that elbow.
I'm not used to the speaking thing in front of everyone, but I pride myself on my community. I love my community, as you can see. I just wanted to say I think that communication is the key, and I love the relationship that is with you all, with our community, and I love the things that are going on in our community. And just want to say thank you all for everything.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for coming this morning.
I wrote a couple of things down, and when you give a deacon a microphone, it's you're in trouble.
Here we go.
But I just first want to state that We have had a great relationship and still have a great relationship with Mr. Stan Bowling, with Sasan Rohani, and other county staff members. We're also very fortunate here in Indian River County to have a great communication network with our 5 commissioners, our county administrator, our attorney, and other individuals in the county. We're here today to encourage all parties, as everyone I'm mentioning from the public sector as well as private, to continue to increase this invaluable opportunity to communicate. And that is so important, the big C, communicate. If I don't tell you how I feel and you don't tell me how you feel, we both assume, and you know what that means. So we don't want to assume. So keep this communication going. This report card mechanism that we have in place is absolutely stellar. It's a great tool to use as a vehicle to make sure that we both walk hand in hand in resolving issues, whatever it may be. So we need to continue this because it affords us transparency, which is very, very important. And it helps us to set forth a positive direction to achieving our goals in this different neighborhood plan. We do ask that the line of communication continue when proposed changes come about. As the email came in, that was communication. Let us know that these are the things we have to change gears. We won't do exactly like we thought, but we will get there, and we appreciate that. We understand also that there are items that are set forth that we can't do immediately, but we do ask if there are some funds available or grants that come about that we can move things earlier, will be fantastic too. I have a big problem with the section of Gifford that I travel down every day to work and from work, and that is 43rd to 58th Avenue. I can tell you within the last 3 weeks, at least 6 people. And why did they choose to wear black at night while walking along 45th Street with no sidewalks in the road? So now you can't just drive down 45th Street in the lane, whatever lane you're driving. You have to also keep your eyes peeled for that little kid or that little boy. So if there are ever some emergency funds that can come about from that 43rd, I know we haven't talked much about that, but 43rd to 58th, there needs to be some type of sidewalk for kids to get off the street, because big trucks, cars, and others all come through there. So, but I do say we do have a great relationship. I thank former Commissioner Gary Wheeler, who stated a long time ago, he said, I like working with Gifford because it has some semblance of organization, someone who could be held accountable we can go to, and I'd like to propose that Gifford be listed as any other municipality to be notified and kept in the loop, and you guys have done a great job. So those of you who are new, that we are part of the system, so please don't forget us when we have information that's important. We'll be happy to spread information for you as well as you listen to the information we bring to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Freddie. Stan, if you and Rich could look into that section that Freddie referenced and just see if there's something that we could phase in down the road.
Yeah, it's in the plan. It's tough. Yeah, Public Works has been all over it already. I mean, probably for at least a year and a half or so, as well as MPO staff looking at that section. You have the constrained right-of-way, you have the small roadway, pedestrian traffic, and so forth. So yeah, we're on it.
Great. Okay. Good. Thank you.
One other little thing for Stan, I would like, please, sir, is on the plan, 7.1 states that each year through 2020, the MPO will notify the Progressive Civic League of potential funding opportunities for sidewalks and trails. We would like to get that information. Second one, 8.1, each year, Road and Bridge Division will monitor street conditions, and a copy of the latest annual report and any resurfacing will be provided to the Progressive Civic League. We would like to have that information, and I would like it to be only the Gifford community. I don't want the information for the whole county. And then the last one, 10.1, states in 2017 and 2019, County Traffic Engineering Division will monitor traffic volumes and crash sites for all major intersections in Gifford. When warrants are met, A schedule will be developed for signalization. Each report, along with schedule, will be provided to the Progressive Civic League. We would like to have that information also. All I'm asking for, those things, when it applies and it's available, we would like to just see that information. All right? Now, my printer is limited, so if it's above a certain amount of pages, I'm asking that you print it for me, but we will pay for the copies. We will pay for the copies.
No, yeah.
I have a limited
provide you
printer.
copies.
I have a limited printer.
Jason, can we handle that
We
request?
can handle that.
That's
on
easy.
paper.
That's easy.
We're covered.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Before you all leave, I just want to thank you all for coming, and we do have a great working relationship with the Gifford community and the Progressive League. Look forward to continuing that. And I think through that kind of cooperation and working with the board and working with our staff, we can get a lot of these projects done and make improvements to the community that we can all be proud of. So I just want to thank you all for your cooperation, your communication, and working with us, and look forward to the next year continuing this and making it bigger and better. So
Thank you.
thank you all for coming. You all have a Merry Christmas. If I don't see you before.
Same to you all. Have a Merry
Thanks.
Christmas.
Be safe.
All right.
And just Stan, I think Freddie mentioned Stan and Sasan, but also Rich Spirica, our Public Works
I say the
Director.
other staff too now. I did say other staff.
Yeah, I got to throw Rich a bone to mention his name, or else he'll get mad at me. So, but Rich is doing a great job getting a lot of these things done as well. So, so commissioners, the staff recommendation is that we accept the updated report, and that does include, I think, Stan, there was 4 or 5 items where we're pushing the due date from 2017 to 2018.
Correct, 4 items, that's correct.
So the motion would be to accept the Gifford Neighborhood Plan as updated.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Adams, second from Commissioner Flesher. Is there any final discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Flory absent. Won't bother wishing everybody Merry Christmas today. We do have one more meeting next week, but with that, any other business of the board? We stand adjourned.